This message is produced by truthfromgod.com, which is one of hundreds of messages that can be read, heard, and watched at truthfromgod.com. Victory, not survival. Published in the Battle Axe, issue 112, May 1977. All types of publications arrive at news party headquarters, which promote all kinds of survival programs. This seems to be a mania with other patriotic groups. One such pamphlet arrived which was published by a church group in a small Missouri town. Its pastor, who claims to be a deep Bible student, proudly pats himself on the back for handing out free advice in a Christian economic newsletter on how to survive. As I glanced over the material, I began to have a strong reaction to this free advice and was prompted to write this article. In order to fully realize the utter stupidity of their survival plan, it will be necessary to first go over the entire 4-point program. Point 1 is tithing to this minister's work. He states that this is the only means by which the new emerging order of the kingdom of God can come into this earth. Point 2 is to have a food storage program sufficient for the size of your family. You should plan for a period of between 3 and 4 years. It is suggested to invest in some silver and gold coins. Point 3 is to be extremely careful in playing the stock market. Get out and invest in Jesus Christ. Point 4 is to be extremely careful about the financial management of your home. You should own your home free and clear. It is still sound advice to own a small acreage close to others of like mind in an area that is not heavily industrialized, heavily populated, and based on an economy of independent private enterprise. The pamphlet goes on to advertise land for sale within a few miles of this pastor's church. It takes little thought to realize that this pastor's survival plan is entirely based upon money and lots of it. Point 1, tithing to him, money. Point 2, buying a 4-year supply of survival food along with silver and gold coins, money. Point 3, selling stock and investing in Jesus Christ, money. And point 4, owning a rural home with some acreage free and clear, money. As outlined, how many people could afford to survive? It costs me over $300 per month just to feed my family of 7. That is an annual expense of about $4,000 for a suggested 3 to 4 year survival period expenditure of between $12,000 and $16,000. If a family was very fortunate and could afford to make the purchase, then where would such a stockpile be stored? 90% of American homes do well just to house the immediate family and its bare necessities. It would take a building bigger than the family's house to hold such a hoard of food. It must be remembered that money from the selling of the family stock must be heavily invested in Jesus Christ. This is a vague term and literally means the pastor's hip pocket. As advertised, The food depot home is to be located in the country away from industry and people. In an area like this, jobs will be few, but evidently this will not be a problem of concern, since you can always become a self-employed silver and gold coin collector. However, the income from this adventure will not be all gravy, since a tithe must be sent to the minister in order to keep the message going out. This would be comical, except that many people continually fall victim to these nefarious survival plans and profiteering patriots. It will only take a brief look into the scriptures to see that none of this subtle survival schemes originate in them. The Bible does give directions on what to do in the end of this age. It clearly points out that only the enemies of God will take refuge in the caves and in the countryside. Revelation 6:15 through 17. The word survive or survival never appears in the scriptures. The whole idea of hoarding up food, clothing, money, and etc. is repudiated time and again throughout this holy book. The survival mentality is fear-based, not faith in the provision of Yahweh our Father. In Luke 12:16 through 21, Jesus calls a man a fool who built bigger barns in order to hoard up food. And he said to his disciples, "Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what you shall eat, neither for the body, what you shall put on." Luke 12:22. In verses 29 through 31 of this same chapter, he ends by saying, "Seek not what you shall eat, or what you shall drink, neither be ye doubtful mind. For all these things do the nations of the world seek after, and your Father knoweth that ye have need of these things, but rather seek ye the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you." Also read Matthew 6:19 through 34. This admonition also applies to storing up silver and gold. Isaiah 2:20 says that in the last days a man shall cast his silver and gold to the moles and to the bats. James 5:3 says, "Your gold and silver is cankered. The rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasure together for the last days." According to these scriptures, your job is not to hoard up food, clothing, silver, or gold, but to labor to establish God's divine government upon this earth. If you will seek first his kingdom, then he will supply all your needs. This is contrary to the message of the mercenary minister mentioned earlier, who leads Christians into the mistaken belief that they must provide for their own needs, and that God will single-handedly establish and rule his kingdom. Continuing in Luke 12, Jesus says, "Let your loins be girded about and your lights burning." Verse 35. Burning lights are not to be hidden in caves, but are to be set so all the world can see them. Matthew 5:14 through 16. A warning to patriots arrived at our headquarters a few weeks ago, which was published by another of these cowardly Christian journals. It tells patriots, Do not use bumper stickers on your cars that express crusading principles. It only identifies you personally and your car and gives your enemy an opportunity to do you damage. It is such fear and cowardice as this that has kept the truth hidden from the public. I've used every one of our bumper stickers on cars, trucks, motorhomes, etc., and have had no problems. As a matter of fact, we have had a good positive response from other motorists on the highways. No, low-profile survival plans do not have their origin in the Scriptures. The Bible is, however, full of high action. The word used thousands of times throughout its pages. Many of the panty-waist preachers are always saying, "Be wise as serpents and harmless as doves." But this does not mean to be cowards. Keep your beliefs to yourself. If the disciples had have acted as the clergy counsels today, then they would have never gone out and spoken publicly about Jesus for fear. But these men acted boldly, courageously, and proved their faith to all the world by standing up for their beliefs, knowing full well that they may have to die for them. This is true faith, and is the subject of Hebrews 11, which is the greatest chapter on faith in the entire Bible. Its message is about those men who, through faith, subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness was made strong, waxed valiant in fight, turned to flight the armies of the aliens. Verses 33 through 34. Now it is our turn to demonstrate our faith, for out of weakness we will be made strong. We will wax valiant and turn to flight the armies of the aliens. It is our duty to occupy till he comes. Luke 19:13. And no individual or group will ever occupy this nation by hiding in a cave, the mountains, or fleeing out into the country. Material hoarding and running away is not the key in bringing divine righteous government to this land. This is the hour for men of faith to stand up and be seen. I am sick to my stomach with the sniveling sounds of scared survivalists. They'd run away, hide, and let the enemy have everything in order to save their own skin. Little do they know of the enemy, for they will surely lose everything, skin and all, in the end. The time has now come in which we must lift our people from the deadly depths of defeatist survival thinking and revitalize them with victorious visions of destiny. No nation has ever survived when its highest ambition was survival. Survival thinking eats the heroic heart from the breast of a once free people, and this yellow plague is slowly spreading its subtle poison throughout our land. The hell with survival. I will never think in its cowardly, compromising terms. Only victory, complete and total, will enable man to achieve his great destiny. The News Party will only work for such a victory and will die rather than run away to survive. We will live, act, and be men, or we will not be. The 4-point survival plan is outlined by the money-minded minister in the beginning of this article is only a pipe dream. Who has the $14,000 to invest in a food stockpile? Another $150,000 for rural property with large storage facilities, and enough money so that working in some type of industry will not be necessary. What financial condition is the average American in today? Debt. And the way out of debt bondage is not through any survival plan. We must have a complete change in government. Must once again be in positions of leadership, and the advancement must be the sole purpose of every political policy. The road of survival leads only to the grave. If you are a man or woman who will never be satisfied with survival thinking and want victory, then we need your support. We are in a late hour, but with your help and the strength of God, we can awaken the people out of their deadly sleep. If we do not do it today, then it will not be done tomorrow. Conditions are worsening, and any further delay will be fatal. This message is produced by truthfromgod.com, which is one of hundreds of messages that can be read, heard, and watched at truthfromgod.com.